So last week we explored the rights of the employee and the responsibilities of the employer, and that was from a legal standpoint. But now we're going to look at things from, what would you say, from a humanitarian
Empathetic.
perspective, empathetic point of view. So we've got the General Secretary of the National Workers Union on the phone. Good morning, Granville Valentine.
Hey, good morning there. Good morning, Simone.
How are you?
How are you?
Well, I'm pretty good. Just the consideration of what's happening and the impact the COVID-19 has on the workers and the people of Jamaica and the people of the world by extension.
Yeah.
We're starting with empathy, eh, Granville? I know you're
Yes,
a
I mean,
man when you're going in with rules and laws, but this morning we're trying to meet the employer from the soft side.
yes.
Right, so we're saying the employer should not exploit the workers.
No, most definitely. It's a time that all hands are to be on deck and where teamwork should be deeply expressed, where leadership should also be shown in every action of management. And there are many ways, because if the worker is the greatest asset of a business, then one should demonstrate that at this time. And we are looking at means and ways that can work outside of a unionized environment, where in the case of a unionized environment, they have to go through certain procedures. But we're looking at workers right across where all these workers will be impacted. And we may look at telecommuting, we may look at job sharing, we may look at part-time work, flexi work, etc. We can also look at where workers would have accumulated vacation leave, large amount of vacation leave. It could be utilized a suitable time where they can be paid. But we're also looking at the most vulnerable workers to ensure that management would extend their hand, whether by cash or coin, to ensure that they can survive this terrible pandemic that we all face today.
From where you sit, have you been hearing concerns by workers of maltreatment in this time?
Well, there is one major occasion, and I would not want to name the company right now because we're dealing with it at the local level, where a rich hotel is seeking to make a group of workers, a large block of workers, redundant. Of course, we clearly indicate that this is not the time and we will not support that. But that is the only incident that I can recall right now. Everyone is checking around to see how they can extend humanitarian approaches or how they can assist, because, the life we save now may be ours. So it's not just one occasion that I've heard of.
But businesses will tell you that their reserves are running low. Some have run out of cash. How do you pursue something like that? You say it's a rich employer, okay. But what if the business says, we don't have it to pay them, we have to let them off?
Well, surely, and we hope that those businesses are the ones that maybe have workers at below 1.5, where they could tap in the government stimulus. And of course, we have called out on government very early for them to bring that stimulus on board. And hopefully, those companies would have been companies that complied with their payments of taxes and registration, so they can properly apply it, so that workers can get some ease, and they would have done it quickly, so that the government now can activate the stimulus to assist them.
Yeah. One of the things I'm seeing here, my producer, because you've been jumping back and forth, is assist them financially as best as they can, and employers should do that. Wow, Granville, is that a tough thing to ask? Because as Simone said, there's some employers that are saying, look, I don't know what's coming in a couple of months. So I have to reserve what I have because to protect the business. How do you find that balance? Protecting the business, but assisting the worker?
Well, you must look at the human side first, because you're talking about COVID-19, that something that attacks our health, and which is contagious. So whilst your business is important, the human factor is most important. But just to jump to say that a lot of businesses, as money, as profit, as the finances to take us through maybe another 3 months. It is really the small business that cannot afford to assist in this regard. You may have to reduce working hours in sharing, work sharing, where some workers may work from home and they will share hours of work with a similar rank worker. And the pay or benefits may reduce, but it is not a situation that we should cut worker off in totality, leaving them and their family and the public at large at risk.
Let me ask you about these new working arrangements that we hear a lot of folks talking about. A lot of companies putting in policies and guidelines that pertain to how workers work, where they work from. Telecommuting is one of those policies. I don't know what you've heard as to how that's been working since the start of COVID. But what is the worker's right insofar as those guidelines and policies are concerned? In other words, if I work, I know the Prime Minister will say public sector workers should work from home if you're non-essential. If I'm told to come into a place of work and I don't feel comfortable for whatever reason, do I have the right to push back and say I'm not comfortable coming in because of the perceived risk or the risk to me in light of COVID?
Sure. The risk is valid. Even with COVID or otherwise, the worker has that right. But if there's no legitimate risk or reason, the worker should not they tell any employer that they are not coming. Now, where the government is concerned, the government would have taken on the responsibility in a different way, and leading from front, I must say, to say that the public sector workers should work from home or stay home. All those workers are to be paid. That's all right, because it's the government that took that decision, and they have not said that the workers are not to be paid. So it's a reasonable expectation that these workers will be paid, government workers. The main problem is with the private sector, which the government cannot impose any of their powers, authority, or rules on them, because situations of these sorts were never planned for in laws and policies in most instances. In a unionized environment, you may or may not have a policy that covers act of God or situations that is unforeseen circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gotcha.
This says keep the communication lines open. I think a lot of people don't realize that it is the employee's right to be informed and to be kept abreast of what is happening and how it affects the company and, by extension, themselves.
Well, it's a duty of the management to communicate all the events and the eventualities of the company, all that happens, what policy, the guides, and the way forward. That's a duty of management. It's also the duty of the workers to ensure that if they don't understand, they should seek clarity.
Mm-hmm. I know we hear arrangements where companies are saying to folks, we're not going to lay you off. Just don't come in for the next 3 months. And then come June, July, August, we reassess. And when it's possible, we'll bring everybody back. Those are the kind of arrangements, Sir Valentine, that you would want businesses to be having with their employees, correct?
Absolutely. It's a time that we all must have our all hands on deck. We must demonstrate the greatest level of teamwork. We must communicate very well. And we also should try to reduce the panicking and, of course, the stress of workers. It's a stressful time. And management can assist greatly in that regard.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something Simone said. We're wrapping up. The duty of the employer to protect the staff. I've been to locations and I've said to staff, remind your employer that social distancing. So you're serving us, customers, but the employer need to put something in place to protect you. Remind your employer to get your gloves. Remind your employer to get your sanitizer. Why do we have to remind employers in a time when the government has said this is what needs to happen?
Well, one, it is part of the duty and responsibility of employers to ensure that these not policeable practices are in place. It is protecting every life. It can't be that you go after an extra dollar at this time, so you have 15, 20 people breathing in each other's back
Space, yeah.
or standing closer than the 3 to 6 feet. It must be that the employer ensure that happens. And where workers find themselves working in these situations, that worker has a right to say, this is not right. I cannot work in that condition. I should not work in that condition. And the employer cannot penalize such a worker for taking that stand.
Okay. Thank you very much, Granville Valentine. Appreciate your insight this morning. General
It is
Secretary.
my pleasure.
Yes. General Secretary of the National Workers
Appreciate it.
Union,
Let us
Granville
all work safe
Valentine.
and stay safe.
Yes, thank you. Same to
Thank
you,
you.
sir. All right, we're going to take a break on Smile.
Yes.
More on the other side.